people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
De la noche, Stephanie Piñeiro.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Another look at the upcoming Nina Meinke versus Daniela Bermudez IBF featherweight title fight. We're a week out from the fight. Just as intriguing, just as exciting when I first heard about it. Amanda Serrano has vacated another one of the alphabet titles she used to hold, and now it's up for grabs in this fight. And Nina Meinke, like Amanda Serrano, must have wanted added time for the match. She must have, because this fight is scheduled for 12 3-minute rounds. I'm not even sure that favors her, as opposed to the customary 10 2-minute rounds we see in a women's boxing match. This is for 12 threes. The fight is in Germany. It's in Nina Meinke's neck of the woods, and it's for 12 3-minute rounds, so you figure that if it's for 12 threes, it must have been at Nina's request, though I don't know that that really favors her more than it favors Daniela Bermudez, the puncher. The busier fighter of the two, the pressure fighter of the two, as opposed to Nina, who's more the boxer, leaning more towards the boxing and the movement. At first glance, an additional minute in every round is an additional minute you're giving Daniela Bermudez to walk you down, stalk you, and wear you out. The caveat is that Daniela's older. She's about 4 years older. Daniela's 35 years old to Nina Meinke, who's 31. Though Daniela seldom ever breaks character. She's the same fighter from one fight to the next. She's gonna walk you down, she's gonna throw punches and bunches, and if you add time to a round, that's more time you've gotta move out the way. You've gotta move. So in a fight where there's added time, who does that favor more? The boxer or the puncher? The puncher, I think. How many times have we seen it happen to where one girl lands a hard shot on another, gets her in trouble, but the round ends so quickly she goes back to her corner and recovers before you know it? How many times have we seen that? To where now, if this is for 12 threes instead of 10 twos, if Daniela hurts Nina in the round, within the fight, she'll have more time to put her out. Put her away. So you can imagine my surprise that Nina is the house fighter and the home fighter, and it must have been Nina that requested this be for 12 3-minute rounds instead of 10 2-minute rounds. It must have been. A look at who's been helping Nina prepare for this match. The talented youngster Rihanna DeForo, unbeaten up-and-comer, boxing prodigy. I've spoken to her once, at least once here on the channel. To help mimic Daniela Bermudez's base style, you need a fighter with some size, some strength, an engine, and persistence. A persistent puncher, because that's what Daniela Bermudez is. She's not that big on variety. The combinations can be somewhat monotonous, though, because she keeps at it round after round. As a fight progresses and as her opponent's energy reserves are depleted, eventually she can catch you. She can wear you down. Movement is life for Nina. Movement, level changes, and staying off the line and not spending too much time mid-range to inside in the pocket with Daniela. The pocket favors Daniela. Movement is life for Nina. It's where the victory is for her. She's got to be able to move around and stay tricky, stay slippery, stay elusive. You're not going to out-muscle Daniela Bermudez, so you have to out-hustle her. Nina, God bless her, she's experienced and she's tough and she's brave. She's all those things, but what she's not is a big puncher. There's not much chance she hurts Daniela Bermudez, much less knocks her out. So she has to work around her. That's her only out, though you have to wonder if she'll be able to do that given the added time. The winner of this fight, whoever it is, whether it's Nina or Daniela, will become a prime target for the winner of Nicholson versus Chapman. Sky Nicholson versus Raven Chapman, set to go down on the undercard of Beterbiev versus Bivol in Saudi. You can expect the winner of that fight to target the winner of this one. It's good of Amanda Serrano to vacate the IBF title and not hold up the division while she's somewhere else fighting someone else up there at 140 en route to a Katie Taylor rematch. Vacating the IBF title opens up the division a little more, keeps things interesting. She's already been there and done that with Daniela. She stopped her. She knocked her out, and I've no doubts she would knock out Nina Meinke. But those two fighters versus each other, the outcome isn't quite clear, and that's interesting. So in a week's time, we'll get the answer. In a week's time, a new champion will be crowned at 126 pounds. I'm just not sure who. Nina Meinke may have home field advantage, but sometimes home field advantage isn't enough. She's got a tall order in front of her. An uphill battle. And super middleweight news, ahead of tonight's fight, Canelo Alvarez has once again declared that he wants a rematch with Dimitri Bivol next. If Bivol beats Artur Beterbiev, so their rematch can be for the undisputed WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight world titles. Few thoughts? I've seen some protest the idea that Canelo Alvarez should face the winner of this fight. More specifically, I've seen some protesting that Canelo should face Dimitri Bivol ahead of David Benavidez. That he should be allowed to cut in line ahead of David Benavidez. That David is the mandatory challenger for the winner of this fight. When I hear that, I just hear a lot of crybabies. A lot of people that are looking for something to complain about. So it sounds. You're always hearing people try to talk down Canelo Alvarez and talk down who he's fighting, so that if he tries to fight in a difficult fight, one he might not be favored to win, you complain about that too. You're never happy. Personally, I don't think David Benavidez is committed to facing the winner of that fight anyway. If I had to guess, they're just biding their time, waiting for one of those titles to go vacant so they can pick it up. I'm not convinced David wants to fight Dimitri or Artur anyway. So how can Canelo Alvarez rob him of an opportunity he doesn't really want? How can he rob him of a fight he really isn't after? How? A Dimitri Bivol fight is one of several fights that Canelo Alvarez has entertained en route to tonight's fight. He's entertaining a rematch with Dimitri, like he's entertaining a showdown with Terence Crawford, maybe David Benavidez, maybe even a crossover fight with Conor McGregor. We talked about that yesterday. Of all those options, and he has options, the most dangerous fight, the most difficult fight would be the fight with Dimitri. So if that's a fight that Canelo's entertaining, why are you complaining? Some people are. He's entertaining a second fight with Dimitri. I have yet to hear him mention Artur. I have yet to hear Canelo mention a potential fight with Artur Beterbiev if he beats Dimitri. Now, maybe it's because he doesn't have any unfinished business with Artur. No backstory. He has no history with Artur. So if Artur beats Dimitri, maybe he's not as interested. Maybe, just maybe it's because an Artur Beterbiev fight in that scenario is an even more dangerous fight than a Dimitri Bivol rematch. Because in that scenario, Artur will have beaten Dimitri, and you know how Artur beats guys. He grinds them down, beats them up, then knocks them out. So if he does that to Dimitri, well, that would make him more dangerous, wouldn't it? Is that why Canelo hasn't mentioned him? A potential fight with him? It might be. It could. I'm a huge Canelo Alvarez fan, but I don't have any illusions about what would happen to him in that scenario. In a scenario where Artur steamrolls Dimitri, then Canelo fights him afterwards, Artur would be too big, too strong. Even if you think that Canelo Alvarez is the better boxer, and I think he is, he's more defensible, he's not as durable. He can't take as much punishment. That Artur will be able to take his punches a lot better than he'll be able to take Artur's. And because both guys are mid-range to inside fighters, that proximity favors Artur. Close quarters fight favors Artur. Canelo has proven himself slippery in the pocket, mid-range to inside, slipping, bobbing, and weaving, catching and countering. But whatever you catch from Artur, even if it's on the arms and gloves, it's going to hurt. Canelo over time has taken a liking to deliberately punching guys on the arms while they're tucked behind their guard. Rocky Marciano's strategy, he used to do that. What makes it harder for those guys to keep their arms up to effectively protect themselves, and it makes it harder for them to throw punches since he's beaten up their arms. He'd get a taste of his own medicine with Artur. Deliberate or otherwise, whatever you catch from Artur on the arms and gloves, it's gonna hurt. He's too strong, he punches too hard. In a situation where Artur steamrolls Dimitri, I think he would also steamroll Canelo. That's too high a mountain to climb. Canelo doesn't have the movement, the legs, to get away from him, so he'd trade punches mid-range to inside. And the pocket favors Artur. He's way too strong now. So if it came down to Canelo versus Artur, I think Artur would beat him. Canelo versus Bivol. Canelo versus Bivol in a rematch. I'm sorry to say, I don't think he can win that one either. There's no shame in saying that maybe Canelo hit his ceiling and he can't go up any further. He cannot be as effective as a light heavyweight as he has been as a super middleweight. He's not a big guy anyway. I mean, would you hold it against Chocolatito if he couldn't beat Junto Nakatani? Would you hold it against Floyd Mayweather if he couldn't beat Gennady Golovkin? That I'm supposed to hold it against Canelo Alvarez, that at his fourth weight, he maybe can't beat Dimitri Bivol. He ain't got it. Not for that guy. Not for that style. Between Dimitri Bivol's natural size, durability, and that Soviet pendulum step that keeps him fighting on a bounce while throwing punches, getting in and out of range. He doesn't need to be close to Canelo to touch him with punches. He can touch him with punches from a safe distance on the outside coming in, then bounce out before Canelo can respond. That's how he beat him before. And that's how he could beat him again. That if the undisputed light heavyweight title fight comes and goes, and Artur could not grind down and knock out Dimitri, Canelo won't grind down and knock out Dimitri. He won't. Artur is by and large a bigger puncher than Canelo Alvarez, and if that kind of power isn't enough to get Dimitri out of there, Canelo won't get Dimitri out of there. It's not hard to understand. I think a lot of people that are holding that against Canelo Alvarez, these are people that already have an axe to grind. So all they can really say about him is that Dimitri beat him, even when there's no shame in that. Dimitri's size, they try to downplay that perhaps a light heavyweight is more durable than those super middleweights. So Canelo can't grind him down as easy as he grinds those guys down. It's not just the styles, it's also the size and durability of a light heavyweight versus what he faces at super middle. The light heavyweights are more durable, and that matters. Your punches don't do as much damage up there. You can't put a dent in those guys. You couldn't put a dent in Dimitri. Can't do no damage, can't slow him down. You fight him again in a second fight, you might lose worse than you did the first time out. But he says he wants to fight him again for undisputed at light heavyweight. That's what he says. He's got a score to settle with Dimitri. I have Dimitri Bivol winning the Beterbiev fight tenuously, winning a points decision against that fighter. So if that prediction sticks, we'll see if Canelo sticks to his guns, sticks to his word, and has a rematch with that guy. We'll see. Though if he does, I don't favor him in that fight. I don't think he wins. And finally in men's heavyweight news, Deontay Wilder's trainer Malik Scotch has declared that Wilder will fight again and is not retiring from boxing yet. He'll be back. Deontay will fight again. He still has a bright future in boxing. Bright future? He's 38 years old. Especially at the high level. As for the biggest fight, it could be against Francis Ngannou or Anthony Joshua. They are still mega fights. They could be if Wilder can rebuild himself. The problem? Wilder's a fighter who in the last 4 going on 5 years has only won 1 fight. He's 1-5 in his last 5 fights. 2 back-to-back losses to Fury, then the win over Helenius, then the 2 back-to-back losses to Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang. Malik continued, the same type of people who want Deontay to retire told Muhammad Ali not to fight George Foreman. They said Foreman shouldn't have fought Michael Moorer. These naysayers are part of the sport and we need them. They're wrong 8 out of 10 times, but it's all part of the game. He brings up the Ali versus Foreman fight. Muhammad Ali was not 38 going on 39 years old when he fought George. He was a very spry 32. He brings up George Foreman's fight with Michael Moorer. Now, in fairness, George was up there in age. He was in his 40s when he fought Michael Moorer. But George had a more decorated career that by the time George came back to the sport from that long hiatus, he already had a more accomplished boxing career than Wilder has now. George's career is often broken up into 2 separate phases, when he was young and when he came back. That first phase, just that first stage of George's career is better than anything Wilder ever did. George's win over a then unbeaten Joe Frazier, who he dropped 6 times and stopped in 2 rounds, is better than any and every single victory on Wilder's resume so far. The real problem with Wilder is he has nothing to draw from. You're comparing him to very rare fighters, special fighters. Fighters that are better than most of what's out there in the annals of boxing history, fighters that are so obviously better than Wilder. Exceptional fighters, with an emphasis on exceptional, because you can't spell exceptional without exception. These guys are the exception to the majority, not the example, not the norm. Everybody ain't Ali. Everybody ain't George. That's why you won a bronze medal at the Olympics and they both won the gold. That's why Ali was able to rebound off his loss to Joe Frazier. George was able to rebound off his loss to Muhammad Ali, and you still haven't really rebounded from your losses to Tyson Fury. You ain't them. You ain't cut from the same cloth. There's no nice way for me to say that. It's a very romantic notion to think of every naysayer as having the relationship with Wilder that Howard Cosell had with Muhammad Ali, but Wilder is no Muhammad Ali. You need me to tell you that? You think about Wilder's ring return. Just the other day, I heard a blurb about how Francis isn't done with boxing. Francis means to return. Those boxing paydays compared to those MMA paydays, I have no doubts that's why he wants to come back. And a reasonable fight for Francis would be Wilder, and the same is true in reverse, because they're both coming off back-to-back losses. I feel like the only decent-sized fight you could put Wilder in, where he stands a chance to win, is the Ngannou fight. But what's that saying? That the only big fight you can have where you stand a chance to win is if you fight a novice. A guy Anthony Joshua stopped in 2 rounds. They say power is the last thing to go in the sport of boxing. Power is the last thing to go. So if Deontay Wilder ever was a bona fide power puncher, odds are the power is still there. But power means nothing, absolutely nothing, if you can't land. And you can't land if you don't throw. So what we saw in the Parker fight, a very gun-shy Deontay Wilder. He couldn't find his right hand. Then again, in the Zhilei Chang fight, with Zhilei Chang, he was on his back foot, moving around, getting pushed around really, cautious and careful, not committing to his punches, not really letting his hands go, and going for it. That maybe Wilder still has power left, but it don't mean nothing if he don't use it. So why don't he use it? Because he's broken. He's mentally broken. I've said for a long time the only reason Wilder made it to the WBC title is because they matched him so soft. That where other Olympians, bronze medalists, are matched hard from the get, Wilder was matched really soft. He's not a developed fighter, as strange as that might sound. For the number of fights that he has, his fundamentals are very poor. So that at 38 years old, going on 39, you can't turn around now and try and reinvent the wheel. The fighter is who he is. Can't change but so much. If he can change at all, I'm sorry to say that Malik Scotch's words of encouragement are little more than blind optimism, the kind that might see Wilder walk off a cliff. The Joshua fight is dead. That's done. That's kaput. Now maybe you can go in there with Francis, and maybe you can beat him. Maybe. But the road back to the top, the pinnacle of the sport, doesn't begin and end with beating an MMA fighter in a boxing match. And that's if you even beat him.